Now living in Faribault, Minneapolis, Mary Clare is a mother to twin boys, a daughter, and is now expecting a fourth child in August. Mary Clare has been writing music since the sixth grade, and for the past 15 years, she has custom wrote songs, baked bread, and accompanied masses as often as she can. You can find Mary Clare's latest music on her Bandcamp page at maryclarestro2020.bandcamp.com or in the show notes for this episode. This is a Know His Love story.
For me, there hasn't been an extended period of time where I didn't know the Father's love. It's more like there's many times throughout the day that I fail to properly appreciate His fatherly love. For example, as a mother, there's never a moment that I do not love my children, and because of that, I think I have a fairly healthy understanding that there's never a time that God does not love me. Now, as a mom, I can see that and understand that better. But I do think back to a time when I was living in California. I had just moved there from Minnesota to get to know my husband's family better. And while living there, I had just the awesome privilege of not only visiting the mountains and camping there literally whenever I wanted, but also getting to see them as I drove to work every day. Growing up, I was always enthralled by the mountains, and I had barely ever seen them, and it was very, very cool to me. However, as time went by, even just a few months, I'd be driving to work and I wouldn't even really notice that mountain skyline anymore. I was just more consumed by whatever was going on in my life, whatever I was worried about or dealing with at that moment, that I just kind of stopped noticing them. And I was just distracted by my own concerns for the day, and I was not appreciating them anymore. And I know that I definitely get that way with God's love. There's times when my family is in need and He provides in a way that brings us to our needs, brings us to our knees, and that provision reminds me of His attentiveness to us. But just going day to day, I forget. I also find that throughout my life, I seem to be a lot more forgetful and negligent of that love as the sun goes down, which is interesting. I often think of this friend who suffered from dementia. And in the morning and the afternoon, they were the most with it. But as the evening came, they would become a lot more forgetful of who they were, where they were, and who was with them. And apparently that's called being a sundowner. And I think that I'm kind of like a sundowner with God's love. And as the sun goes down, I can become more anxious and selfish and short with people around me. But I think that, while I'm pretty good at starting my day with prayer, I'm not very good about ending it with prayer. So recently, before we go to sleep, my husband and I have been really trying to be intentional about praying in gratitude out loud, and just remembering, everything that God did or gave us that day, even just little things. And that's really helped us a lot, is to just pray in gratitude out loud. But yeah, failing to remember His love throughout the day and getting worse as the day goes on has definitely been a theme through my life. So God's love has always been pretty real to me. Growing up, my dad worked for the church and my mom stayed home, and there were 8 of us kids. We grew up cradle Catholic, very faithful family, but we were always very poor and money was very tight, and there was a lot of anxiety around paying bills, purchasing things that were needed, or fixing things around the house, even just getting groceries. So there were a lot of times that something would be gifted to my family. For example, a water heater was gifted to us at one point. There's times where we would be gifted vehicles, or just getting odd jobs. One year we were given Christmas gifts, school clothes. The list goes on. My parents would be very vocal every time that something would happen like this, which was often. They'd be very vocal that this was God's way of showing His love in a real, tangible way. And so as an adult, with my own family now, we aren't in a financial crisis, but it's still very easy for me to get anxious about money, and when it comes time to pay some big bills, or if we have a baby, and I'm tempted to be very anxious about all of that. But still, continually, he gifts me with with means to make money. For example, like I play music, and like I've been given so many opportunities to receive income through music throughout my adulthood. But even like more now, it's even more meaningful now, that way that he shows his love. Now that I have children, and he's not only showing me that love through being able to provide income with music, but also like not just for myself, but for my kids. And I think that changes me in a way that I become more selfless, because like he gifts me the gift of music and the opportunities to say yes to things where I can make money from it, but that money now goes to not me. It goes to diapers, to formula, to hospital bills, to ultrasounds, well, you name it. And so now, I'm not getting to go out and use that money to go out. I'm getting to use it to provide for the other gifts he's given me, my children. So in that way, it has become very real, because it's not just money that's going to get a nice craft expensive beer. It's buying a $30 can of formula for my baby. So as a daughter, that means that I get to receive, which is great, because I've been given a lot. I've been given a great childhood. I've been given this talent, a lot of confidence. I've been given a very good, holy man to be my husband, twin boys, and recently a daughter, beautiful daughter named Christina. And he just recently also gave us a home that's near my family, and we live in a great community. Like, I don't know what else to ask for. And even so, he is constantly just gifting us, and I think that as daughter to the Father, like I get to receive that. I don't have to go and seek it. I don't have to try for it. I just get to receive it. And growing more in that, like reflecting on that and growing in it, has become very freeing for me to be a more loving mother, more loving wife, friend. Yeah. My favorite way of receiving God's love is when it comes very unexpectedly through my children. I remember the first time that my twin boys looked at me and smiled, like intentionally, like they were watching me get ready. I was running around the house trying to get ready for work. Just got them packed up in their car seats and was getting ready to haul them out. And they're like just watching me run back and forth. And then I turn and look, and I see them both just beaming at me, and that had never happened yet. And I started crying, and I realized that intense love and joy that they had looking at me, that is the kind of intense love and joy that God the Father has for me when he looks at me. And getting to, like, from that point on, every time one of them turns back and gives me this joyful look, I reflect on that like every day, to remember that is a way that he is showing me love, and I get to receive it. Also, recently one of my kids, so they're 1.5 now, the twins, and they're climbing up on things, and one of them fell, and he was crying. He was fine. He was crying, and the other one runs across the room and just embraces him. And I had never seen them do that yet. I mean, usually they're just biting or slapping each other. And he runs across the room and just embraces him. And of course, again, I start crying, right? And I'm called to reflect on when I fall and I'm upset, that's what the Lord does for me, is he runs and immediately embraces me without any reservation. He just runs and does it, drops what he's doing across the room and runs over. So I think my favorite way to receive his love is when it very unexpectedly comes through my children. So I think that if someone does not yet know of God's love, that should just try to take a moment to stand outside without your phone, without any distractions, and just take some deep breaths, just stand there, look around, and find something that catches your eye and just let your eye linger on that for a while and just watch it and ask in your heart, or even just aloud if it's not too weird, just ask, show me your love. And try to be as open as you can when you ask that. You might be very surprised as what comes next.